Hello friends, we will see more about the classes and the method in Java programming. As we know, the class is core concept in any object-oriented programming, and it is going to define the shape and nature to an object. So for that we should see the class more depthly. So class is going to define a new data type. So we can say that the class is a template for an object and object is an instance of the class. So the object and the instance, the both word we can use interchangeably. The general form of the class is we should define the data members and the member function in the class, and we should not write the main method in that class. So we will write the classes separately, and we will write the main method in the separate class where we will only create the objects and call the corresponding method on that object to write the corresponding business logic. Whenever we have to declare the object, we have to follow the two steps in the Java. The first step is we have to declare a reference variable, which is also called as variable of a class type. And the second step is we have to actually allocate the memory for the object by using the new operator. For example, the class name is class whatever class name, the reference name, so the data type, that is a class name, reference variable equal to new, and the name of the data type, which is nothing but what the class name. So we have to follow this corresponding syntax, and we have to create a object. So the creation of the object follows the two steps. The first one is we have to create a reference variable. On the next line we can write reference variable equal to new class name. So the object reference variable is very similar to the pointers which we have used in the C and C++. So in the C and C++, we have used the malloc for or the in the C++ we have used the new operator, and it was creating a memory, or it is creating a memory and returning the address of that particular memory that we are storing into the pointer. So the reference variables are very similar to the pointer, but only the difference is the reference variables are very secure. They will not allow to change the value, or the programmer are not allowed to change the reference value. So we can modify the pointers, but we cannot modify the reference value. So the next point is, can we assign the object reference variable? So for that we will see one example. The class is rectangle. It has the two attributes, length and the width. We have the constructors. So first one is default constructor. The second one is parameterized constructor, and we have defined the two methods. So this is general form of any class. So any class is consist of what the its data members, correspondingly its member function. We should not write the main in the simple classes. Okay, after that what we have seen is we have created the reference variable called as r1, the rectangle r1 equal to new rectangle. So in this way the new is going to create a object, and the address it will return it, that we will store into the reference variable. So r1 is pointing to the object of the rectangle. So here the if we have say that r1 equal to r2, so for that the r1 and r2 both will point to the same object. So the first line we will see that r1 equal to r2. So r1 first it was pointing to this particular object, now r2 is also going to point to that object. On the second line, if I will say that r1 is equal to null, so now the r1 reference value becomes null, means what? It is not pointing to any object, but still the r2 is pointing to the object. So whenever we will assign the object reference variable, we will not create a copy of the object, but we will only create a copy of reference. So the next is we will see more about the methods. So the methods are nothing but what it defines the interface to the external world. So whenever we want to use the classes, we have to what the create a instance of that classes and the call the methods, and this method will act as interface to the most of the classes. The method is going to hide the internal data structure. For example, suppose I have defined the stack data structure, and in the stack data structure, we have the methods called as push and pop, but I don't know whether I'm going to use or the that class is going to use the array or the linked list to create a stack. In this way, the it is going to hide the data structure. We have to only create an instance and call the methods. So the method invoke relative to the object. So if we will say r1 dot area, so the area function is going to be called relative to the or the on the r1 instance. If we have created one more object r2, so r2 dot area, so area is going to call onto the corresponding r2 object. The method can also return a value, and you can also define a method which takes the parameters. So for example, over here we have defined one method called as perimeter, and it is returning the double value because we want this will act, it should act as what the mathematical function. So we will define it. So in this way, what we will do is we will create an instance r1, and r1 dot perimeter, r1 dot area we can call into some public static void main which we have written in some another class. So the next important methods that we should always write into the class are called as constructors. So the constructors are the special member functions of the class which are going to be called implicitly by the compiler when we are going to create a object. So constructors are nothing but what constructing the object. It will initialize its data member whenever we are going to create an object. So these are the special member functions. As the constructor don't have any return type, its implicit return type is the class type itself. So you can also overload the constructors, means we can write more than the one constructor in one class. So we can have the default constructor which is not taking any parameter, and we can have the parameterized constructor which is going to take some kind of the parameters. So the next is what we have to use the this keyword. So the this keyword is nothing but what it is going to refer to the current instance. So you can use the this keyword in the method whenever we want to refer the current object. So for example, over here we have written one constructor which is parameterized constructor taking the two arguments, and here I want to refer the length data member of the current object, so I will use this dot length. Otherwise, if I will say length equal to length, it will initialize the local variable to local variable. It is not going to access what the instance variable, as over here local variable is hiding the instance variable. So whenever we want to remove this kind of the hiding, we can use the this keyword. So this dot length is going to access the data member of the object, and the local variable length is going to initialize to this. So in this way, this keyword you can use inside the method to refer to the current object. In the next video, we will see the more about the garbage collector.